What's good, people? Black is More podcast. We are back once again. Thanks for joining us. Two favorite hosts. We always got to say that. Marcel, Aaron. Marcel, what's up, man? How you feeling?
And finally, Marcel has come back to Black is More.
Man, I like that. I miss that rock, man.
Yeah,
he on
man.
the bigger and better things now.
Good days, man.
Dwayne now.
Shout out to Dwayne.
Yeah.
The Rock.
That's right, man. Yeah. Hey, shout out to our sponsor. Before we even kick anything off, myfacetoday.com. They got new stuff on there. I was talking to my guy today. New content on there. They even got hats, coffee mugs, whatever you want, man.
Yes, sir.
T-shirts. They can put a custom logo on there for you. So if you need something customized, a t-shirt or anything like that, hit them up, man. myfacetoday.com. And if you didn't hear last time, if you put in the coupon code BIM1 for Black is More 1, just in case that went over your head, you get 10% off.
Hello.
All right? Check them out, man. Check them out. They're doing big things. So check those guys out. So yeah, 3 topics for you today. We're going to talk about Mike Brown, who is he like the interim coach of Golden State?
Yeah, he's the interim coach of the Golden State Warriors. Yeah.
Right. Interim head coach for Golden State Warriors. And just kind of an incident that happened with him. And he kind of explains it. So we'll have a clip of him. And we'll talk about something I'm pretty passionate about, and that's the increase of mandatory minimums. You know, they're trying to roll out some old rhetoric that we've heard before, so gotta be conscious of that stuff. And then we'll talk about something called passers, man. So stay tuned for that, because that's really interesting as well. And you'll definitely want to get some more context on that. So, hey, real quick though, I want to give a shout out, man, to a young lady who did something I think that was pretty cool.
Oh yeah?
And her name is Jenny Lunt. And she is a student at Colgate University, and this is a liberal arts school in New York. And I'm not really sure the time frame of this situation, but I think, like I said, I think it's pretty cool. So I'm just going to kind of give you some context and read something that she wrote. So I have a caption here right in front of me. I'm just going to read it verbatim. And the picture that this is captioning is of this girl. She's a white girl, by the way, white chick, college student. And in this picture, she's holding up like a samurai sword, like a real samurai sword. She's just holding it up above her head in the air, so that can kind of be your visual for this. And this is what she wrote about it. And I quote, "This is what white privilege looks like. This is me. Only 1 year ago on this very campus, running around the academic quad, damn, I can't read, with a fucking sharp metal sword. People thought it was funny. People laughed. Oh, look at that harmless, silly white girl with a giant sword. Today, a black man carrying a fucking glue gun shut down my prestigious liberal arts college. For 4 hours, the limited information that was released put all black men on this campus in danger and at risk of being killed. That is the reality of the institutionalized racism in the United States. If you think for even a second this wasn't profiling, ask yourself why this sword is still in my room and has not once made anyone uncomfortable. No one has ever called the police on me. Understand that there are larger forces at play than this one tonight and this one instance of racism. This is enraging in our university and our larger society. White Colgate students, we need to do better." And then she put hashtag Black Lives Matter. So I apologize for stumbling there, but you kind of get the gist. But again, I just thought that was kind of cool for her to recognize that, she's in a privileged position. Like she kind of said in this excerpt here, she was running around the campus with a sword. And nobody said anything, but a black male student who was doing a project, right, in the library had a glue gun. And I guess that kind of got misinterpreted as him having a real gun.
Right.
And they shut down the liberal arts library for 4 hours. So, again, just wanted to shout her out because I thought that was a cool thing to do. So yeah, man, that's how we'll start the show today with her standing up. So that was good.
Shout out to stuff. Jenny.
Yeah, man.
Hey, that's the second Jenny I've known. The other one was from Forrest Gump.
Right, I know. That's what I was thinking,
She was a good Jenny as well.
My name's Forrest Gump.
So Jenny 2, the world 0. But go ahead.
Yeah, Jenny Lunt is her name. But yeah. So first topic, man, Mike Brown. So again, he's the interim head coach for the Golden State Warriors, and he just had an incident where he kind of had a small run-in with law enforcement. And real quick, I just want to play a clip of him talking about this run-in at an interview recently. So here's Mike Brown. Just check him out real quick.
And so, the cop's like, get through. I'm like, man, this is great. I didn't have to stop for any of these red lights. So I literally start to go, and I'm going to get in the far left lane, right, to go through where we all go through. And a cop out of nowhere pulls in front of me and goes, "Hey, you, stop!" I'm like, Warriors acting coach? He's like, "I don't care. Hey, you, stop!" So I'm like feeling myself a little bit. I'm like, hey, I'm not getting bullied by either Oakland PD or San Francisco PD. Like my own building, my own parking lot. So I start to go a little bit, and another one pulls up. "Hey, you heard him, stop!" So I'm like, okay, I'm on a motorcycle, right? If I scoot a little closer, they got to get scared, because I know I would get scared from a car to a motorcycle. So I start scooting forward. And then an SUV pulls up, PD. And I hear him over their speaker. "Hey, you in the Range Rover, stop. It's right now. You heard the officer, stop." So then I got scared. I was like, I got 5 cops around here. So I just stopped. And I said, I'm just trying to get to the game. I'm late. So I let the bus go and the 18 cops. And I'm going around behind the bus, and I get this phone call. "Greg Popovich, San Antonio Spurs." So I answer the phone, and Pop is dying. He goes, "Mikey, I didn't know that was you." He goes, "I'm sitting here. I see this black Range Rover. I see all these cops surrounding him. I see the car trying to inch forward. I'm like, he's about to get arrested." I said, "Pop," I said, "this is my own building." And he goes, "I know. When I saw it was you, I died laughing." So that's why I'm late. Sorry.
All right. So, as you can hear there, he's kind of describing, what happened. And, essentially what me and Sal were kind of discussing, and Sal, you can, I kind of let you take this one over. But there was maybe some racial profiling going on with the police, kind of stopping him and doing all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, what are your thoughts on that, man? On just the whole situation.
Yeah, so this man is the interim Golden State Warriors head coach.
Mm-hmm.
And he's still being stopped at his own job.
Right.
Basically. I think that, the way that he went about it, I didn't agree with it.
Yeah. The way he handled the situation, or
right, yeah. Basically, making it like a joke, and making it seem like it was a funny situation.
Right.
Something like that's not funny, because let's say he was just a regular black guy. That could have went way worse.
Yeah.
Like he could have been murdered. The fact that he was talking about how he inched closer to the cop's motorcycle.
Right. Yep.
I was like, dude, what the heck are you thinking? Like, that didn't make any type of sense. All I could think about while watching that, I was just like, this is not funny at all.
Yeah.
And he has a room full of, Caucasian reporters, basically, and, trying to make it a laugh. And, I saw in some of the headlines, Mike Brown tells a funny story.
Right, yeah.
Nothing's funny about that. Like, there's been tons of people, thousands of people, matter of fact, that have gone through that similar situation and didn't come out to tell that story.
Right,
like,
exactly, yeah.
I didn't understand. If you want to be accepted so bad, if you want to be liked so bad, there's other ways of going about it. But that one right there, I didn't agree with. What do you think about it?
Yeah. Well, I think that's a good point because, if he had done something wrong, then and he getting pulled over, that's one thing. But essentially, he was just getting pulled over because it was a black guy in a black Range Rover.
Yeah.
And like you said, I kind of got that feel from the interview that he was just like, oh, ha, ha, ha. But like you said, man, there's some mothers out there who have heard that story about their loved ones, their sons, and, they haven't made it home. And that immediately made me think about Philando Castile, the guy who, I forget which state he was in, like Minnesota or something, maybe. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that. But
I think, either Minnesota or Ohio, one of them. Yeah.
Okay. Yep. But he got pulled over and he had a weapon in the car, but he had a license to carry that weapon. And, he told the officer and got shot. So, that's a good point, man. Because I didn't really like how that felt either. Like, I felt like, as a black man, representing us well, I feel like I've been saying that because we do have a lot of black men and women who are representing us well, and they have the platform to do things or to voice their concerns or to speak up about social issues. And he just kind of played it off like, oh, it's cool. Cops just giving me a hard time,
Right.
I don't know. I feel like Greg Popovich would have said something.
Well, Greg Popovich was the guy playing the joke or something.
Okay, I see.
Yeah.
So they
were behind him. They were behind him,
right.
And they were trying to figure out who was who were the cops referring to, and it was Mike Brown. So so Greg Popovich called him and was like, "Oh, that's you? I didn't know." Started laughing, and
right.
Pop is a cool guy, so
yeah,
I know he didn't mean it that way, but at the same time, that just shows you, you can't take that lightly. Like the first thing I thought about was Oscar Grant, the young black man that was killed on Oakland's BART train station years ago. They made a movie about it.
Right.
What was it? Fruitvale Station.
Yeah, Fruitvale.
And there's always been some type of tense relationship with between minorities and the police over there. So for me to hear something like that, I was really, really worried. Like, not one bone in my body wanted to laugh.
Right.
Or giggle or anything. Like, I don't understand why he would be laughing about that, except for the fact he wanted to be liked by that room in particular. Not to jump to a conclusion, but a lot of times when black people want to be accepted by white people, they tend to, tell stories that would basically like embarrass themselves and do stuff like that. For me, that's what came to mind when, that particular situation occurred. Like, I don't know, it made me feel really uncomfortable.
Right.
It really did. And for him to be laughing, I just don't like it one bit. But yeah, that's
No, I mean, I think and we're what we do on this show is just kind of point out these things that I think need to be addressed socially. And there's definitely a lot of positive black men and women who are in positions of status, and they're doing great things. And like I say all the time, they're representing us well.
Right.
But in this situation, a man who I think overall is representing us well. He had a platform.
He's a good guy.
Yeah, exactly. He's a good guy. He had a platform to where he could have maybe brought some attention or something. Not make a huge deal out of it, but just kind of highlight the fact that, hey man, this was, I'm a black guy getting pulled over and I'm the coach. Like how many white coaches you see getting pulled over?
Right.
There's something there. And like you said, there's additional context there because while he's laughing, somebody didn't come home from that, man. So That's a good point. That's something I really wasn't thinking about when I was first watching the video, but that's a good point. A lot of people don't survive that. So
Right.
yeah. But Mike Brown, hey man, we like you. But come on, man. Come on, Mike.
You used to coach my Lakers, man, so I ain't I ain't too mad.
Right.
I mean, plus you interim coach for the hometown squad, so I can't be mad, but do better, Mike. Do better.
Do better.
Please.
Agreed. All right. Next topic, man. Hey, this one I'm kind of fired up about. I'm not gonna lie. So, y'all probably have heard us if you've listened to previous podcasts, stuff like that. You might have heard us mention the documentary 13th, and that's just a documentary that Netflix did. Talks about mass incarceration and how that's used as a modern day form of slavery. Blah blah blah. Check it out if you haven't. Great information, but just keep that in the back of your mind. Because if you've seen it, this will make more sense. If you haven't, maybe it'll kind of motivate you to want to see it. So we have a new, we got a new attorney general when the Trump administration took over, named Jeff Sessions. And, recently he sent out a memo to, a lot of people in the legal realm and, judges, things like that, and told them that they need to be a little bit harsher on their sentences. So actually, I'm going to play a clip of him talking at at some kind of press conference, and he's just kind of announcing this and kind of telling people what he did with the memo. So just real quick, this is Jeff Sessions.
Today, I am announcing that I sent a memo to each of our United States attorneys last night establishing a charging and sentencing policy for this Department of Justice. Our responsibility is to fulfill our role in a way that accords with law, advances public safety, and promotes respect for and consistency in our legal system. I have empowered our prosecutors to charge and pursue the most serious offense, as I believe the law requires, most serious, readily provable offense. It means that we're going to meet our responsibility to enforce the law with judgment and fairness. It is simply the right and moral thing to do. We are seeing an increase in violent crime in our cities, particularly in Baltimore, Chicago, Memphis, and Milwaukee, St. Louis, and many others. The murder rate has surged 10% nationwide, the largest increase in murder since 1968. And we know that drugs and crime go hand in hand. They just do. The facts prove that's so. If you want to collect a drug debt, you can't file a lawsuit in court. You collect it with the barrel of a gun. In 2015, more than 52,000 Americans died from a drug overdose. That's a stunning number. According to a report by the New England Journal of Medicine, the price of heroin is down, its purity is up, and its availability is up. We intend to reverse this trend. We are returning to the enforcement of the laws as passed by Congress, plain and simple. If you are a drug trafficker, we will not look the other way, and I trust our prosecutors in the field to make good judgments. They deserve to be unhandcuffed and not micromanaged from Washington.
All right. So, this guy's a politician. So he's saying a lot of, fluff and blah, blah, blah. But essentially what he's saying is he's trying to increase mandatory minimums. He's trying to make punishments for, misdemeanor or not misdemeanor, but small crimes a lot harsher. So I got a lot of information I'm going to throw out there and then Sal, I want to get your thoughts on this.
Mm-hmm.
But so when the Obama administration was kind of exiting, right?
Mm-hmm.
They said that they're not going to use private prisons anymore. They want that to go away for obvious reasons, because when, money gets involved, people tend to just go to prison because they know that that's a way for the prisons to make money. And, that kind of trickles out. Officers just send people to jail, blah, blah, blah. So that was something that the Obama administration identified and said, we don't want to do this. Immediately when Jeff Sessions became Attorney General, he rescinded that. So private prisons are in play now, and the stock market prices of these private prisons are shooting up. When Obama, kind of was saying, hey, we're not going to use private prisons anymore, they went down like 25, 35% for some of these companies. So they were like, about to hit the dumps. But again, they got rescinded, so they're healthy again. So, yeah, not surprised, right?
Not at all.
But so yeah, it's essentially with the mandatory minimums, they're trying to, and something that's very common, marijuana. They're trying to make that sentence for somebody, having possession or dealing extremely high. And I'm not saying that people who deal marijuana don't need to go to jail, but they don't need to go to jail for damn life. That's ridiculous. Now, I'm going to give you an example, a real life example of something that happened. A man named Weldon Angelos, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm getting this information from John Oliver, his show. He has a show called Last Week Tonight on HBO. Really good content, really funny guy. But that's just kind of my source. So this guy named Weldon Angelos, he committed a crime of, trafficking small amounts of marijuana, and he had a gun on him at the time. Both things I'm not condoning. I'm not saying those are okay, but it was a very low-level crime. He did this when he was 24 years old. This man got a 55-year sentence.
Wow.
For that crime. 55 years because of mandatory minimum. Okay? Now, amongst the people who disagree with mandatory minimums, again, it's a lot of information. I'm just throwing it at y'all, so you just hear me. Amongst the people who disagree was the judge who gave him the sentence. Okay? Guy's name is Paul Castle. And again, I'm paraphrasing Paul Castle, the judge who gave him the sentence. But he said, if the guy was a airplane hijacker, he would have got 24 years. If he was a terrorist cell, he would have got 20. If he was a child rapist, he would have got 11.
Wow.
But he got 55 years for selling a small amount of marijuana and having a gun on him. So, just in case you adding it up out there, everything I just named, man, I do not know.
That sounds like a New York sentence.
Yeah, I'm not sure. That's a good question now. That's a good question. Man, for some reason I'm thinking California, but I don't know if I'm just thinking California because we just talked about Golden State. But I'm not sure.
Sounds like New York just because of the gun law.
Right. Yeah, true. And that stuff always varies from state to state.
Right.
But hey, if you were adding that up right there, all those things I just said, airplane hijacking, terrorists, child rapists, that adds up to 55 years. So if somebody committed all three of those crimes, they would have got the same sentence as this man who sold a little bit of marijuana and had a gun on him. Okay? A little bit more context.
Wow.
A man named Kevin Ring, who was a congressional staffer in the 90s. And so back in the 90s is when the war on drugs and similar rhetoric was being put out by our leaders. Okay? And mandatory minimums, that kind of first started. But this guy, Kevin Ring, was a congressional staffer, and he helped write some of those laws. Ended up going to jail later for fraud, and he got to meet some of these people who he wrote laws for to get in jail for these minimum sentences, mandatory minimum. And when he got out, he said that, he just, from his personal experience, that the mandatory minimum increase is not discouraging people from committing the crimes because a lot of these guys are just doing something stupid and they don't think they're going to get caught. They don't even know the mandatory minimum. So even though Jeff Sessions is saying that it's used to deter people, all it's doing is putting people in jail longer.
Wow.
So, I know I threw a lot of information at y'all right there. But, this is, it's not. But I don't think that people, because it's legal in 4 states now.
Right.
That's another thing there. There are people who are in jail for, selling weed or smoking weed or something like that. And it's legal.
Right.
In certain countries, certain states. It's not legal everywhere. But I'm just saying that doesn't make sense to me. So I'm I don't want to get your thoughts. I got some more things to throw out there as the conversation kind of progresses. But what's your thoughts, man?
Well, first of all, whenever I hear something like this, the first thing I think about is how is weed illegal,
right?
but alcohol is perfectly legal?
Good question.
I really haven't heard anything about, a person flipping out and murdering because they were high. If so, I've heard several stories about people who were drunk who did the exact same thing. I've heard about, drunk drivers killing people because of alcohol. But yet that's perfectly legal. When it comes to weed, I don't smoke weed, but at the same time, for the people who, smoke weed or use it for medical reasons or whatnot,
right?
I have no problem with them doing it. Now, with that sentencing that you were referring to, I'm clearly not going to allow people around me that's smoking weed because I'm not trying to get that sentence at all. But it's to me, it's a target. I've seen too many black people get bammed up for smoking weed or having weed. A lot of the times with Caucasian people, it's all in the frat houses or sorority houses.
Right.
It's all in the perfectly nice apartments and stuff like that. And no one cares.
Yep.
No one seems to find the weed over there.
Yep.
But they will circle the block 100 times in one night in the black community, and they will make sure that they find at least an ounce of weed somewhere and somehow.
Yeah.
So whenever I heard that, like you were saying, bringing up the 13th, all I could think about is more black people being locked up for a long amount of time. That's all I could think about. But yeah, that's crazy. I can't say I'm surprised.
Right.
I got one question for you before you go into detail. When the stock went down for the private prison and Jeff Sessions became the attorney general, if you knew what you knew now, would you have invested in private prisons?
Personally, no.
And why is that?
Well, because in the mind state that I am now, I don't want to profit off the backs of, slaves, essentially.
Right.
I would be like a damn slave master in my mind.
Right.
And that's just because I feel like I've kind of progressed to that thinking. Now, if you would have asked me that 4 years ago, my answer might be different.
Right.
Just because I probably was a little bit more focused on money. And not to say that money isn't still something that I'm trying to, always manage and prioritize.
Right.
But I can confidently say, hell no. Hell no. Because, I mean, and for real, because I got friends, man, who, that could be them. You never know. Never know, man. So I don't want to hear about, one of my friends going to jail for life or for 50-some years because, they were smoking weed. Now, again, I don't smoke weed. I'm not saying you need to be, if you're not in a state that weed is legal in, shouldn't be smoking it. You don't want to risk that. For real.
Right.
Think about that. For real. Hey. I mean, with these things happening, man, you got to make sure you weigh your options. Is it worth it?
Very true.
Is that high worth, going to jail for? And I'm definitely not saying you need to, we're not condoning selling drugs, and, selling drugs armed and all that stuff. Ain't condoning that. But I'm saying, punish them, but 55 years, really? Like that's nah. That ain't right. But to your point, just another stat to throw out there. 74%, and this report is from 2010, just to give you some context, and I don't think the numbers are too different, but 74% of the people who got those mandatory minimums back in 2010 were black or Hispanic.
Would you look at that?
So this is a direct attack on our communities, man. People of color, brown folk, us and our cousins, the Mexicans, the Latinas.
Shout out to my vatos.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's a direct attack on them. And on top of that, one thing that these mandatory minimums do as well, you ever seen those, like Law and Order shows or
right.
NCIS or, any kind of show like that. And they have these guys in the interrogation room and they say, hey, look, man, we got 55 years potentially on you. Take this plea bargain. Admit that you're guilty and just take this instead. That's giving them so much leverage, man. That's what happened to, what's the dude Jay-Z made the movie about, the documentary. Can't think of his name.
Khalif Browder.
The one who, Khalif Browder. He did not accept it, but they tried to do that crap with him.
Yeah.
They're like, hey, man, shoot. Don't matter if you did it or not. We got this lesser thing for you if you want to take it. So you can either try to fight it and potentially face 55 years or you can take 10. That's crazy to me,
pressure,
man. And like
man.
you said,
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. And like you were saying, we know just from social studies and, statistics. Look this up on your own. Do your own research. We say that all the time. People commit crimes regardless of race at similar rates.
Right.
So why are my black people and my Hispanic people going to jail more? Why? Ask Jenny Lunt. That's who you need to talk to. She'll straighten you out.
Jenny.
But again, that's something that that really fires me up, man, because I mean, and when the Trump administration came in and specifically when Trump, became president, I heard him saying things like, man, drugs is a problem in this country and violence and crime. And I'm like, man, this sounds eerily familiar. So, hey, watch 13th, man. For real.
Great documentary.
Watch 13th. If you have not watched it already, I know I probably say that like once every other episode, but watch it. Watch it now. Pause this, watch it, come back.
watch the rates go up from like the 1960s and on.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. But again, it's a direct attack on minorities. So that's just something that I want people to be conscious of, man. Be aware. And then if you are one of those people who are using it, ask yourself that question, man. Hey, I can't tell no man or grown woman what to do. You're going to make your own decisions. You got to make your own mistake. But ask yourself, is that potential of getting caught and that mandatory minimum worth it?
Right.
Is it worth it?
Let me work it. I put my thing down, flip it and reverse it.
If you really like to smoke weed that much, move to a state that weed is legal in. I don't want to see my brothers and sisters in jail. And that's Hispanic brothers and sisters, black brothers and sisters. Shoot. I don't want to see people in jail because of this crooked, corrupt, legal justice system that we have.
Right.
Because it's not doing anything but trying to make people money.
Yeah, and
that's
also,
my rant, man.
I also want to give a shout out to Sarah Ferre. The article's pretty old. It's like probably like a year and a half old, but it has been floating around social media lately. Basically, Sarah Ferre, she is the daughter of a DEA agent, and they basically found 31 grams of cocaine, 126 grams of high-grade marijuana, and 29 ecstasy tablets.
Oh my God.
60 doses of LSD-like drugs in her bedroom to the College Station police. And guess what? She's probably going to be let off with nothing. A little slap on the wrist, or they're dropping everything. You know why? Because she is the daughter of a DEA agent. And of course, here's the shocker. She's not black. She's not Hispanic. She's not Asian. She's not Indian.
She ain't brown.
Nope. She is a white Anglo-Saxon Protestant. A WASP. She is a white woman. Shout out to the great white ladies out there. But this one, she is making you guys look bad.
Yeah, that's
just how those thugs out there make us black people look bad, even though they clearly don't represent us. But anyway, yeah, it's a shocker that someone like that. No, it's not a shocker. Let me stop playing. Anyway, I just wanted to say that because clearly she should be facing past 55 years on the stuff
Heck
that
yeah.
she had. But yeah.
She got way more product than Weldon Angelos had.
Right.
And he not getting out till he almost 80 years old, man. That
Right.
blew my mind when I heard that. That's crazy, man.
Right.
That is absolutely ridiculous. And then,
Yeah.
you know, that your example just shows that our not political system, but our criminal justice system is more about your economic status
Yeah.
than your innocence. That is absolutely, that's stupid. That's damn stupid, man. I'm pissed off now. Dang it, man.
Chill out, Ye. Chill
You
out,
ain't got the answers, man. You ain't got the answers, man. You ain't got the answers. You ain't got the answers, Swag.
That's crazy to me, man. But hey, like I said, hey, look, if you got to rewind the pod for a sec to get all that information, rewind it. Just be conscious of that stuff. That's all I'm saying. I can't tell, like I said, we can't tell anybody how to live their life, but you need to be aware. You can't say you didn't know. If you listening, you can't say you didn't know. And make sure you tell somebody about that.
Now you
especially if
know.
they're a minority, because that's who it's affecting. It's affecting us. So, yeah.
And some of the lower poverty-stricken white people as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
We welcome you with open arms. Come to us.
We in this fight together, man. Oh man. All right, last topic. Deep breath. Let it go.
Uh-oh.
Last topic, man. Passers, man. Passers. So I know people, when you probably heard that at the beginning, you're thinking like Eli Manning or something like that. But no, passers. So just to give you guys some context. So I have a friend that I work with, and we were kind of talking. And it actually it was multiple guys. And both of them are from their parents are from different countries. One's father is from Sierra Leone, African descent, and the other is from mother is from Puerto Rico. So they were talking to me. We have these discussions at my job at lunch and stuff, which is really cool, about just different social issues. And they were talking to me about how their parents essentially deprived them of some things from their heritage, because they didn't want them to experience racism. So in the case of my Puerto Rican friend, he doesn't look, like if you saw him, you would just think he's just a white guy, because he's mixed with white and Puerto Rican. And so his, again, his parents just were like, hey, we're not going to teach you the language. We're not going to teach you about the heritage. And he feels deprived of that. It feels like, a part of his history and his heritage, was kind of stolen from him. That's another thing. But,
right.
Essentially that kind of conformity, or that, that decision of his parents to say, like, look, we don't want you to experience the racism that we've experienced in this country. So we don't want you to be different. We want you to be like the majority or the white people. In the case of my buddy who father is from Sierra Leone, he said himself, like, hey, me not being, learning about my heritage and me not learning about the African culture, it's not me being white, but at least it's not me being African. That was the mindset. And that really hit me. I was like, dang. So but the reason it's called passers is because, essentially people are trying to pass as white in certain instances. Again, in the case of my guy from Sierra Leone, or his father rather from Sierra Leone, he couldn't pass. He a dark brother. All right, he couldn't pass as white. Just saying. He probably gonna kill me when he hear this, but
man.
But the guy from Puerto Rico, like I said, he his parents wanted him to, act white, look white, because they didn't want him to experience that racism, man. So, very powerful to me, impacted me. What's your thoughts on that, man? I know you had another kind of example that you wanted to share, but what's your thoughts on that whole thing?
My thought is, bruh. That is my thought. Not surprised though. There are several people or types of people, I should say, or races that end up breeding with a white person, and they can end up passing off as white.
Right.
A lot of like the Cuban refugees that were mistreated by Fidel Castro, a lot of them were the lighter tone. And they've come to America and they've tried to pass off as white. A lot of the white supremacists understand that these people are, mixed and stuff. They still welcome them with open arms as long as they actually, have the same type of thought process as them and, spread the hate, I guess you could say. But kudos to your friend for not wanting to, lose his heritage and forget where he came from. Yeah. I feel like it's very important for people with any type of, descent to actually study, where their family's from and basically just knowing themselves. Like a thing that I say every single day, know yourself. And you can never know yourself unless you go and you look back in what's happened in the past. For people who try to pass off as white, all I have to say is you understand why they would, but you also understand that they know for a fact that white supremacy is real.
Right.
They know for a fact by wanting their children to pass off as white, they understand how hard it is. And
to be
a lot of times, right. And the thing is, black people are at the very freaking bottom when it comes to treating people a particular way. And just knowing that these possible, foreigners or these people who come over here as immigrants, they come and they understand the brutal treatment, of theirs and other races get. And it's a sad thing for someone to come to a country and they were taught that, hey, this is the free country, this is great, this is the great American country, and then you see nothing but hate.
Right.
Of course, I mean, I sympathize with the parents, but at the same time, if you come from me, you definitely about to know your history. Like, I'm not allowing that. Like, I don't care. Like, you're going to be proud from where you came from because me as the parent is going to instill that in you. But I can understand why parents do that. I just can't rock with it. What about you?
Right. No, I was going to say that too about the parents, because I was trying to process all that information when, he was kind of explaining it to me. And I'm like, man, I don't know if I can really blame the parents for anything because essentially, they're trying to make sure that their most prized possession that they will ever have, which is their child, has a better life than they will. And, apparently the racial discrimination and criticism and all that stuff that they experienced was so bad, it hurt so much that they were like, man, I would never wish this for my child. So I'm not blaming them. I'm not saying, that they should have done anything different. It's, it's so easy to say that when you're looking on the outside in. But again, like you said, I think that knowing yourself is so important, man. I feel like that's just something like me personally, as I've kind of started this journey of like learning more about, black people and religion and how it affects politics and stuff. That just has empowered me so much just because I feel like I have a better idea of who I am as a black man. Not just a man, but a black man. And that's something to be proud about, regardless of your heritage. Whether it's Sierra Leone, whether it's Puerto Rican. And to your point, my buddy, the Puerto Rican guy, he said he gets criticized by other Puerto Ricans. Like, they would, and I'm not sure how often it happens, but, he said it does happen where, they're like, oh, you don't speak the language or you don't look like us. Like you're not Puerto Rican. You white.
Right.
And that hurts. And it's similar. And I think we've mentioned before about how black people will criticize other black people for like speaking well, enunciating, things like that, saying that they're white.
Yeah.
So, that was powerful to me, man. But that was perfect, man. You put it perfectly. Know yourself, man. Know who you are.
Yeah,
and I think a lot of people get that confused. Like they think that they know who they are, but that's somebody else's narrative of who you are.
Right,
So,
exactly.
Got to make that distinction.
Yeah, and that makes me want to give a shout out to Logic. He has a great album called Everybody. And basically in that album, he's talking about how he's a mixed person, mixed race of black and white.
Mm-hmm.
And his mother, she's white, and his dad was black.
Right.
And she had children by nothing but black guys. And what happened was she was technically a racist. And she's a racist, but she keeps having sex with black guys. And
so Logic was saying that she was a racist.
Yeah, yeah, he calls her a racist.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Wow,
and basically in the album, he's talking about how he struggles with being a mixed person because the black people are always saying, well, you're not black enough, because actually his appearance,
you don't look black.
Looks like a white guy. Yeah. And with the white people, they're saying, hey, you don't act like a white person. So basically when it comes to that, he has a complex where he's just confused on what should he claim because no one claims him. So I can see where your friend is coming from, thanks to Logic's album Everybody, because from a black person's perspective, you would think, well, since we're black, anybody else would die to be mixed or whatever, to be treated better. But I've come to find out that there are mixed people that go through certain situations in which no one claims them, and there's nobody to clearly support them. So
they don't have a home.
Right. But yeah, when it comes to those pastors, I don't like the fact that, well, the good thing is white supremacy is cutting down. It's dying out, basically.
Yeah, people are more aware.
A lot of the the racist people or the white supremacists, they're dying at a faster pace. But the bad thing is that they're trying to recruit people that kind of look white or some type of Asians and stuff like that. And what they're doing is they're getting them to possibly carry it on, as long as you're putting down black people and keeping them in their place, because they're understanding that they're getting low on numbers. So for the people that could pass off as white and do their job, I mean, look at I think it's the Florida governor, not Florida governor, but Florida something, like senator or something. This is a Hispanic guy, and he basically said some pretty bad remarks about black people. And
talking about Rubio?
No, it's not Rubio. It's somebody else.
Okay.
But yeah, it's they're a lot of the white supremacists are taking other people that could pass off as white or just other ethnicities that aren't black, and they're just trying to get them to continue the party. So for the people who try not to pass off as white and try to just love themselves and try to figure out who they are, I have a huge amount of respect for you. For the people who pass off as white, hey, get those benefits, but just don't buy into white supremacy. But yeah, that's where I'm at.
Great point, man. No, I think that's an excellent way to wrap it up, man. I don't want to go too long.
Right.
But hey, look, we touched on some things. Let us know what you think. Hey, hit that like button for me and hit that subscribe button. Share this thing with somebody, please. Makes it a lot easier to get the video and the content out there. So, hey, man, you want to say anything before we head out?
Our perceptions are reality, and you know this, man.
All right, y'all. We'll get with y'all next week. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you again soon.